They got a big old nest up there.
Okay. Preacher, let's see here. This is today the 14th or the 13th? Do you remember?
It's 13th.
It's 13th, okay.
I think that's right anyway.
Alright. Anyway, 13th of September, 1983. Over here at the Pine Hill Marble Yard. Let me start off getting your whole name. What is your...
Theron Denton.
What is it?
Theron Denton. Theron. Theron Denton.
Do you have a middle name?
No middle name.
Okay. And what is your date of birth?
I have 8th month and 8th day, 1914.
Okay. 1914?
Right.
Now, here, I'll put those down here on the ground.
Wherever you are this out.
I've just got about a blue million questions here, so if you don't care, I'd like to go through them. Now, you've already answered some of them for me, but I wanted to ask you while I was, had a tape running, so we could have it on tape. I guess you've seen more marble playing than most people have around here.
Well, I'd say so. It's a playing anyway.
Yeah.
Because most of them is done quit.
Mm-hmm. Why do you keep on playing?
It's just for a pastime and just to enjoy it and can't do nothing else and meet the people and have fun. And I enjoy playing too.
Well, what is it that you enjoy about a marble game?
Well, now there's competition just like any other sport. It's, you play to win. It's just like any sport that I have, and that's why I like it.
You mean the competition aspect?
That's right. A whole lot of competition, that's right.
Well, another thing you said, to meet the people.
Yeah, that's right. It just ain't all marble playing. You meet people, and have a place to meet, and different things of that day. You meet lots of people that don't play. They enjoy coming and talking.
Yeah. Well, what kind of materials do you see used to make marbles?
Now the plinth is what you're talking about, the plinth, that's right. We used to make them out of the yellow or white plinth, what we call the yellow plinth. It was a yellow. Now you can't find good yellow plinth no more.
Do you think it's all been used for
Well,
marbles?
that's right. There's one place down here where it's just been searched for over and over for it, and it's hard to find anymore. And they just hunt for it anywhere they can get it now to make them out of.
Why was the yellow flint the best?
Well, I don't know. I just liked it the best. Because I kept a marble made out of it and played with it for over... I played with it for over 40 years, and a man gave them to me when he retired then in the 1930s. And I played with it for 40 years, about that.
What happened to it?
I lost it just a day or two ago. Hadn't played with it up to this year. But I had skipped a few years. There's a few years we didn't play marbles.
Well... You say you just liked it. Was there anything about it that made it a better flint than others?
Well, yeah, I thought it did, and it's a heavy rock. It made a heavy marble. And that's the only reason that I liked it better, and I just always liked the yellow flint the best.
You've seen other marbles, though, other than flint marbles. What are some other things that people or kids or whatever you've seen use for marbles?
Well, I don't know now. They make a lot they make them out of different things. Now, agate, that's a rock, of course, but it makes the prettiest marble there. Now, it's the prettiest, clearest marble there, homemade. You know what I'm talking about. And they made them out of a shiny rock, they called it. That was a white rock.
Did they make those up in this part of the country?
Yeah, they made them in this. That's what we call a shiny rock. It's a white rock, but it wasn't hard as a flint. And it was a shade lighter.
Was it a lot the same as flint as far as how hard it was? Or?
Yeah, that to some extent. It just wasn't hard enough, and it wouldn't stand the pressure the flint rock was.
So it really wasn't flint.
It wouldn't. It was. I don't believe. If it was, it's a different kind of flint. You know what I mean.
What else have you seen, preacher, around limestone?
Yeah, now they used to make them out of limestone, but they wouldn't stand up. Now they just wouldn't stand up, they'd peg. I've seen them made out of limestone rock, that's right.
And you say, what would happen to them?
They'd peck. After you slick them down, when you started shooting them, hitting them, they'd peck. What we mean peck, at little places jump out in them, and they'd get rough. They wouldn't hold it.
Any other kind of rock like that's ever been used that you've seen?
No, not some. I seen some rock that come from California here and made some of the prettiest marbles I ever seen. And I don't know how they stood up, though. But they called it a flint rock, but now his is pretty and white, just as clear as it could be, and it made some of the prettiest marbles I ever seen.
What about this agate? Can you find it around here?
No, you can't. Now, I don't know where it come from. I don't know where that agate rock come from.
Did you ever know of anybody making them out of glass?
No, I never did. No.
I've got an old antique one that someone made out of the bottom of a jug or something. You know, I take a piece of glass and knock it on it.
It's possible, all right, but I never seen none handmade out of glass. No.
Mm-hmm. What about clay?
Well, I never seen none. I've seen them tried, you know what I mean, but now they just wouldn't stand up. But now I believe that there's a mixture a man could fix and mold them all right.
Yeah.
But now I've seen the clays tried and hardened and all, but now they just wouldn't stand up.
How about ball bearings?
They're just too heavy. They're rough, and they played with them. They wouldn't allow them to play with them. I've seen them use them, but now they're what we call steel ball. Now, that was large as marbles, but they're just too heavy. And you could bust a flint marble with them, too. I'll tell you.
And you say they weren't allowed on the...
No, they wouldn't allow them to play with them. They wouldn't nobody play with them because you couldn't knock them nowhere either. They're too heavy and too heavy.
Well, how did people years ago make marbles?
Well, back when I was a boy, they made them by hand. Take an old file and pick them. It'd take 3 or 4 days to make one. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Just pick it out round before they ground it, and then they'd put it under water and let it run. It'd take a long time for put it in a rock and let water pour over it and turn it slick. But now that made one of the best marbles that ever made.
Well, how long did it take to make one once you got it under the water that way?
Well, now it depended on how it ground. If your hole in your rock started working out and wasn't running it perfect, you'd have to rework it and start in another hole to keep it turning right. If you didn't, it wouldn't turn. It wouldn't be round and slick, just the same all up.
Mm-hmm. How did they make the hole in the rock?
They took and chiseled out a rock with. You couldn't get too many of these emery rocks. They was the best, but you just find a piece wherever they could get them, and you couldn't. And we did use limestone rocks lots of times. I didn't. I wasn't a good hand to make them, but the other fellow did. I've seen them.
Did they ever use sandstone rocks?
Not that I know of. Now, we didn't have no sandstone rocks here in this country at that time, and never did see them using them.
And so what would they do? Take a chisel and beat this hole out?
That's right. You take a chisel or something and chisel you out a little hole round where it'd hold this marble, and then water turn it.
Has it got to be a perfect hole that you chisel
No,
out?
it don't have to be perfect because your water will spin it and it just naturally touched. It didn't rub hard. That's the reason it took so long to grind them out. You know what I mean? Letting the water do it. And after it got the emery rock, they'd turn them, roll them, push them, and roll them on a plank or something. You know, with the emery rock, you could smooth them that way.
So I'm sorry. Now I didn't understand that last thing that you meant.
Yeah, but if you could get a hold of the emery rock, you could roll them on a plank. You know where it'd spin in this rock, and just roll it, rub it backwards and forwards, and roll it.
I see. Just in other words, that emery rock would have a little hole in it.
Right. And you
just put it on a board just like this one.
Right. That's right.
What about that?
You got that exactly right. Just something and roll them in. And of course, I see them take their finger and just keep turning them to smooth them, slick them that way. You carry your rock in your pocket, job for walking or anything else.
Okay. How long do you think it would? What's some idea of the length of time it would take to make it under a waterfall? A month, 3 months?
No, I'd say it usually take a week or something like that for it to grind out the way you wanted it.
What about if you were making it on a board like that?
Well, now, it didn't take as long. If you had the right kind of rock, it'd cut it much faster.
Could you cut one, you think, in a couple hours? Or in an hour?
No, I don't believe you could. When you got it picked, you wouldn't have it to suit you. You just, I'd say it'd take 3 hours long. You worked a lot longer than that, but you didn't work that much at one time, but put together.
What about in later years? What were some of the ways?
Well, they changed altogether. Because my boys, they fixed up. They went to making them with a machine and letting it do the turning. And they got them blocked out. They'd use the emery rock and something to hold it, and then they'd grind them off the emery rock with a machine. They'd make one, and I don't know how long. But you don't want to get them hot. You ruin them if you get them too hot. You know what I mean? On that emery rock and that machine, it'll get the rock hot, and it'll cause it to crumble.
How do you prevent it from getting hot?
Just work it a while at a time, gets hot, lay it down, let it cool, keep it cool, and never get it too hot till you get it done. Have more than one to work on to take them time about. If you don't want to work on it. You want to keep it cool, keep you some water, and keep it cool, never get it too hot. You'll ruin them and get them too hot.
Okay. When did your boys first start making them?
It's been 8 or 10 years ago. one boy made several of them, and the other one he's still finishing them up for fellas. And just that, but he started, it's been longer than that. It's been 15 years ago when he made them, and he started making them. And
I've heard some people say they jack up a car and...
Well, I have too. I heard the fella told me the other night here, and he had one with him. He said it cost him $150. He said he had his car jacked up and to grind his marvel down, he had it. Now, he had a good marvel, and it is a real one. It's one of them old yaller flints. But he had it here, and somebody's wanting to buy it, and he said, yeah, he'd sell it. He'd take $150 for it. He said it cost him that. He said he jacked up his car, and he said he burnt the transmission out. It cost him $150. Oh, now that's what he said, and he did have a good marvel, but he wasn't wanting to sell it, but he's trying it that way.
So what they would do would be what? How would they make them when they jack the car up?
I don't know. Now, he just told that, but he would. I don't understand how, but it's to turn the marble in the rock some way, you know what I mean, to spin it.
Yeah.
But I don't. Or he could, just a hole in the marble, you know what I mean, again, that tar in the rock and letting it turn it, and of course it'd spin it that way. But now we finally learned to build a thing that you just worked up and down, put this marble in the bottom of it and fit it on this rock. You just worked it with a string and hit spin backwards and forwards and worked it up and down and grind out marble. That was a whole lot better than the way it's been intended. Now that was way before they learned to use it the way. I see them. You fit this marble in the bottom of a wood piece and this string, and turn it back there. All you had to do is sit there and work it up and down and turn it. But you had to be careful and keep your marble turned. You grind it one side. It didn't turn the marble over. It turned in the rock. And it helped the rock. But it'd spin it backwards and forwards. You just sit there and work it up and down.
Who thought of that idea?
I don't know now. The old-timers is doing that. I see that done, but I was a boy when I never could make a marble. I never had the patience to finish one. I picked on them, and still I had older people to tell me about me a passing there picking on marbles, but I never a good hand to finish them. I always...
What did they call that?
I can't recall that. All I know how it is made. I believe I could make one today, but this string, and it come over here, and it twisted around that. It twisted, and then and you worked it up and down, it twisted back the other way, just backwards and forwards, and you just sat there and worked that thing, and it spun, that marble, around and around. Now, I remember them, but I never used one. I couldn't make one myself, I don't guess, but I've seen them, and seen them, the marbles they made with them.
Bud Garrett has got one of those.
Has he?
And he calls it a whirligig.
Well, that's what it is, all right, because it just turns backwards and forwards, and I guess it is, and I didn't know.
Is that an old name for it, or have you ever heard that name before?
I didn't. I didn't know what the name was, but they made them. They homemade them. Now, you know what I mean, and made them herself. I don't know who done that, but I've seen them.
What about, Russell, hey now. Russell, we'll see you later. Okay. You want me to give you a call about this thing in Nashville? Okay. All right, what's the oldest marble you know of ever being used? How long?
Well, I don't know. My neighbor here telling me about one that he had is over 60-year-old. He's aimed to give it to me. I just lost mine the other day, and I told him. He said, well, he'd played with it, he knowed it for 50 years. And I said, well, I lost one, and I know he'd been played with longer than that, too. Well, he said, I'm going to just loan you one. But that's the oldest ones I know of. Now, it's been played with, continued, that and I lost. I'd continually played with it, but he hadn't played with them for 8 or 10 years or something like that.
So they'll stand up a long time.
Oh, they'll stand up. That's right, good and well. Now, if they made right and stand up, they sure will.
What can go wrong with them? What can happen to them?
Well, I'll tell you, they when they made right, they just won't hardly nothing. Now, if they begin to peck, you can regrind them. You know what I mean? And slick them up. And that's what happened to my old marble. The boy reground it. Now, he did. It began to... Some pecks come in. What I mean pecks, that's little flaws that's getting rough. You know what I mean? And he slicking it off again. Now, he did do that.
Now, how does that help it to slick it off again?
Well, it don't hurt your marble, but you've got to have a marble slick. If you don't, it'll hurt you. You'll feel that rough place every time that you go to shoot it, and it'll bother you.
Yeah. Okay, I've heard some people talk about half-mooning.
Yeah, now I tell you what, that's half moon. When you hit a pretty clear marble, lots of times you'll make a half moon in it, and they'll show up in them. You can get them up and you can see them in them. But now, that's where you can't do that in your yaller flints. You never could get them moon. Now, pretty white marble, you'll get them half moons. In other words, it's what they call a half moon, but it's just a little place, and you can see it in them. And if that lasts as long enough, they go to pecking.
Is there any other thing like that, like the half moon, that might happen to one?
No, the worst thing is sand holes in your flint when you're making them. And you can't make a good marble if it's got a sand hole in it, or a little hole in it. You just weld the cullet to start with if it's got that in there. Because
what is a sand hole?
Sand hole is a little hole. It may not be bigger than a pin, and it's hard to see. It'll finally begin to break around that. And it may get bigger all the time, and it'll ruin the marble.
Can you think of anything else like that?
Well,
I gotta consider.
I can't right off.
I'm going to stop this middle stage, but I'm hunting marble.
Did people ever have names for their marbles?
No, not that I ever knowed of. Yeah, now there's a few fellas would. They'd name the other man's marble for some reason. You know what I mean? If he'd be playing with too small a one, they'd call it a pee-wee and everything else on him. If he had too big a one, they'd be calling hit something.
Like what?
I don't... Let's see. And there's another kind. There's a liffy, or something like that. I don't remember and that was a black marble that they played with.
And you mean that's the name of the material?
That's the name of the rock it is made out of. They call it a lift. I can't pronounce that, or just how it is.
People here call it a liffy.
Yeah, liffy.
Huh.
Yeah, I guess I'm living on you.
Yeah, he's a fiddler.
Well, yeah, I have a good man go back and get it.
I've got my banjo right here.
How long is it?
I'll be here pretty late, I think. We'll play it then if you want to go get it.
Well, we might play that fluff.
Why, we can play it off right here. I've got my banjo and guitar both. Okay. All right.
Are you an old picker too?
Well, I'm about to play a little bit, yes.
Yeah, I'd forgot that leafy rock.
Where do you find that rock?
And I don't know where it come from. It must have been in this country. I don't know now. I never...
On the knob.
Is that where it was at? Well, I know they got them summers and made them out of them. But
when
now...
he says on the knob, what does he mean?
Yeah, there's a... What he's talking about, the knob, is a big high place over here in the county. It's 3 or 4 miles from here. They call it the knob. It's one of the highest places there around, and it's all rock in there.
Get in there. Hey, what are you for, Dwayne?
Can you think of any other names that people call folks marbles? And,
I don't right off of the reel. I don't think of it. Of course, after I get talking to you, I'll think of some of it later, but I don't right now.
Okay. What kind of price did people used to charge far back as you can remember?
Well, I'll tell you what, there wasn't nothing. It wasn't... The price wasn't hit. It's just, I don't remember nothing about that much because they'd either just let a man work for a marvel or something like that, or do something and give him, and they really didn't put it in dollars and cents. Now, I'll tell you, and, but when I was growing up, if a man sold a marble for more than 50 cents, he's selling it to half. That was a day's work. And
so what do you know of that's been swapped for marbles or traded for a marble?
Oh, I don't know. I've always managed to trade for me one some way or another without making them. I've watched the other fella make them, but I was never a good hand to make them.
What have you traded?
Well, I just don't remember right now, and most of the time, just some fellers are quitting to give some other feller his marble. Now, you could use them for years if you didn't lose them. Losing marbles is the worst thing it was.
So, you've had a lot of them just given to you?
Oh, yeah, I have, and then just as a friend or feller to quit playing, he said, I'm going to just give you my marble, and I've had different fellers to do that. Wouldn't talk about selling them, and they didn't. You won't hardly sell a marble as long as you play if it suits you, and you got a good marble if you want to get one. But now $1 or so is a good price for a marble back 40 years ago.
Oh boy.
Yeah, you couldn't. That was in my book now.
Do you know if many were sold for that high?
No, I don't. Now, I'll tell you what, they didn't sell much because every feller usually just loaned them or give them to other fellers. And
do you know of anybody that's ever traded anything for, a marble or several of them?
Well,
you trade a knife too, or something like that?
Well, yeah, you'd trade that. I've noticed that plenty of times. Now, such as that would go on plenty. Now, I'm talking about way back. Now, I ain't talking about, recently, because
recently people have do a lot that.
No, recently they buy them, now, and somebody's making them, and they are buying them and trading on them now, because there's plenty of marbles around here that's selling for $10 now.
And what about way back? Would people swap knives to them?
Oh, yeah. You'd trade a knife to them or just anything. If you got a marble suit, you just trade your knife for it or anything else to get it, and that happened plenty of times.
Okay, What about the different sizes that you see people play with out here? How much do they differ?
Well, not too much now. Now, I tell you, they don't vary. You don't see anybody hardly that plays with a real small marble or large medium one. They all play with practically the same size anymore. Close now.
What about way back?
Well, it was that way a whole lot. But now, there's some fellas want the big marble. What we call the big one is larger than the others fellas. But
how big would that be? As big
as
a thumb, or?
Yeah, it would be a little larger. There it is. They'd call them fellas that marble. They'd call it a baseball. That's what, and such as that. Now that's what the same of fellas using on them, a baseball and things like that. I seen some old men playing marbles out here. It's just a short ways from where we are sitting now. And that is in the late 30s. The old men, they throwed marbles then. Instead of knocking down, they'd punch, what we call punch. They'd throw it at the other. I see the man throw one or shoot at him. He called it shooting at him, but he just actually drawed back and throwed it. It went plumb out of the yard and across the road and through a rail fence. And I asked him about that here. He was here at this tournament the other day, and I asked him if he still remembered. And he said, I sure do. He is the man that throwed it.
Why did he throw it so hard for? Why did he throw it so hard for that?
Well, he was trying to bust the other man's marble. But that's just the way he done it. He just throwed them. And that's the way any starter has to shoot, not here now. He can't knuckle down there and shoot that marble till he learns to, he's got to first learn to shoot it, but he's got to punch to shoot it. You can't lay that knuckle down there and shoot that marble if you ain't practiced it. You've got to punch. All kids does till they learn how. They've got to fudge a little. In other words, give a little pitch before they shoot that marble.
Is that considered fudging when you punch?
That's right. It is. But now these fellers that shoots with that hand off the ground today, but they don't punch. But they still won't lay it on the ground. They'll never get their hand dirty.
Is that considered fudging?
No, it's not. Because you can shoot that way as long as you ain't. That's not considered fudging to me.
Okay. If someone came out with a real small marble, would they, or a real big marble, would people feel odd about that? Would they not want them to play with something like that?
Well, they always go on about it, one way or the other. They think you've got advantage because you've got a small marble. There are advantages to it and disadvantages.
What would be some of the advantages or disadvantages?
The advantage you've got with the feller, it's a little smaller marble and you can't, it don't look as good to target, shoot at, and it's harder to hit. And another thing, you can take that little marble and you can bounce with it and get the other feller better.
Huh.
And go further with it. Hit another marble and you can bounce it further another way. Now, you take a good shot with a small marble, he's hard to do anything with. He can now. He can make it do it, and he can jump so much further with it off one of them larger marbles. And you can't, hitting the little marble, you can't make your marble go where you want to and things because your larger marble follow the small one instead of setting on it or going the other way like you want it to.
So what is the disadvantage of using a smaller marble?
Well, the disadvantage is, again, the other fellow you're playing with more than anything else if he's got the larger marble now. But I tell you, the little marble is harder to shoot and control than the larger marble is. Now, it won't roll as good.
It'll roll farther if you want it to.
That's right. If you can control it, you're all right, but you just can't control it as good as you can the right size marble. It'll go too far.
Can you think of any players that used to be known for using the small?
Yeah, I do. I sure remember one, and he just liked shooting a rifle gun. He'd shoot that little marvel, and he'd sit down there, and he is a fair player, and he is one of the best. But now he come and played different time, and that was Carl Cherry. He could shoot that marble just like a rifle gun. He used a small marble, and he was one of the best I ever seen with a little marble, small marble.
How small was his marble?
Well, now they don't play with them as small as he plays with today. Now they make some, but now they don't nobody play with them anymore. Now they don't nobody like to play again a fella with a one that's too small. Now I'll tell you. But they rode me a whole lot for years here about playing with a small marble. And there's an old one I've been playing with years, but then these younger fellas got to borrowing my marble and playing with it and said he's the best in every shot, and got to looking at it and putting size, and they went to making them. They hit size. They're playing with them now, made them the size. It wasn't as small as they thought it was.
Yeah.
And they took a ring and measured it and had old Bud to make them some that size, and I seen some here on the yard since then. He told me, and they said he took them from mine, and they got the size of mine through a ring and went to Bud and had them some ground down. But it wasn't a small marble. They just thought it was. Yellow marble don't show up of a night with these lights like a white marble.
Does that help you?
No. And I said, that's the reason it looks small to them, I think. And when they got it out there in daylight, it does. It helps you because you ain't got as good a target to shoot at.
So they can't see it quite as good.
They claim that. That's right. But I can't see good enough to play of a night. No way.
Well, years ago, were people playing at night?
No, that's it. We didn't have no lights and nothing. The only time that we was playing, we had to play in daylight.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that it is so hard to get a game. There's so many wanting to play that you had to get it in daylight or you didn't get it.
Nobody ever tried to build up a big bonfire?
Well, now we have. Yeah, we built fires at each end, but you just couldn't see to play it. Well, no.
But y'all have none?
Yeah, we sure have. That's right. And we'd play plumb on into the winter. It'd get cold, you'd want a fire, too. That's right. We wasn't like they are today. Just as soon as it come a frost, it's too cold. We played till it snowed on the ground as long as things stopped up. That's true, too. I tell you.
Well,
but I don't think I ever raked the snow off to play.
When you built a fire to play, was it close enough to the yard so that someone's marble might go in the fire?
That's right. We had to watch that too. But it just wouldn't make a good enough light. You couldn't hardly play.
Okay.
No, I'd say that Walker is the first feller that I know of that put lights up the marble yard out on top of the hill. That's the first one I...
What year was that?
I don't know. Now it's been a good bit. It's been Now, they might have been more before that, but that was the first night they ever went to it where they played out of a knife.
Okay.
Padlock.
Now, what size yards have you seen through the years?
Now, I tell you what, in different years, we just made them wherever it fit the best. They're making the yards a lot larger now than they used to make them, because we just, anywhere we could find an old road bed or something to smooth her up or something, if it was gnar, we played on it. And usually tried to get them anywhere from 30 to 40 feet long, but the width, we never had them as wide as they are now. They just wasn't that wide.
About how wide were they?
I'd say they was about 10 or 12 foot wide is all it was. And we'd make them side of store buildings and everywhere else that we didn't have too much room to play. They made them here, and just between the road and the store building, there wasn't room on to have a marble yard here at the crossroads. Played there for years and years, but there wasn't room there for only a narrow yard. In the same way with the old road beds, it takes a good dirt to make a marble yard. An old road bed that's settled and made dirt on top of it makes the best thing you ever played on.
Well, tell me what, can you tell me more about what makes a yard better than another one?
No, I can't only hit the dirt. If you can get away from the rock, these little gravel and pebbles, they mess you up playing marbles. Any time that you're playing marbles, the more they are. And they're hard to get rid of all of them. Now, they're hard to find, and you keep getting rid of them.
Okay. Yeah, my fiddling partner's here. I'm gonna go get my music.
Well, okay. Just turn that thing.
That was used that I've ever known about. It was called Chinas. That's what it was called, and they was imported in this country from China, and they was white. And they was up close to flint or agate one, and they wouldn't hardly bust. And you find a few of them now and then in this country. You still do.
Okay, let me get your name again.
Herman Heston, H-E-S-T-A-N-D.
H-E-S-T-A-N-D.
Heston.
And you were raised right in here?
Yeah, all my life I've lived in this neighborhood. I was away during World War II for 5 years.
And these China marbles were
white in color and white all the way through. And they must have been made out of something like porcelain or whatever a white plate's made out of. But it was much harder to bust than that.
Did you have to buy them at a store? Or?
They was bought at the stores, yeah. They brought them on.
Do you remember where would you go to buy one if you wanted?
Back these days, you'd find them in country stores. You'd also find agates.
What would they sell for?
Well, maybe 50 cents, 75 or $1, $1.25 an ounce your agate. The others was cheap. They wasn't costly. The white ones, the Chinas.
The agates were?
They were costly. You've seen them, ain't you, agate?
I don't know.
Well, if I'd have known you hadn't, I'd have brought one up and showed it to you. I've got 2 or 3. I used to play, but I wasn't too good. And I'm too old to play marbles. Too old to play the fiddle, too.
No.
Yeah.
What about this liffey?
Oh, I'll tell you what that was. That was black rock, softer than flint or agate. And it was easy to make a marble out of, but they'd polish pretty, and they wouldn't last long, they'd bust. And there was 2 kinds of this, yellow and white. And you'd find it in ledges, and really, I guess it was a rock that contained a lot of phosphate. Had a kind of oily smell when they was picking on it. The edge of it, over here on the edge of Kentucky, about 2 or 3 miles from here. And now this game's went on all my life. In this county and the 2 or 3, 4 adjoining counties. I've never seen it played nowhere else, but I guess it has been. And the weekend they'd meet on Saturday evening usually, play till late. Of course they quit now at night, sundown. Then Sunday they'd start and play till late in the evening, and that was a pastime. Gang up just like they are here now. Only, of course, there are not many here now. And they'd always be someone ready to challenge the beaters. And there was never no time lost.
What is your date of birth, Mr. Wilson?
What'd you say?
What is your date of birth?
Oh, I was born in 1909.
What
Oh,
day?
December the 18th.
Get over right now, Steve. He's right here's the hole.
Well, I would like to talk to you some more about marble playing too. I've got a lot of questions written down that I wanted to ask about, but I'll tell you what, I'm going to go get that.
Yeah, go get your things now. I'll tell you.
This is what's in now?
I've heard it called anvil, I believe.
Okay.
That'll at least get you that much of it in there. I just go ahead. I'll play it slow. I don't believe they do, not that I can think of right now. I might now. But I tell you, dig these things and think back. And some of these, catch this one. Let me say, just a little bit. Wait, let me get started before you start. I created that tune. Can you play that? Now, you couldn't play that, could you?